Hello, and thank you for joining me today. I'm your host, Gal Swisa Cohen, and on today's episode of The Israeli Bond on hmTv, my special guest, Liana Meirom Asif, will join me for a conversation about Arab-Jewish identity and how it came into effect in her personal story and in Israel in general. So, a few words about Liana before we start. So Liana is an educator, a leader, and a social innovator with over 20 years of experience in community development, education, and Jewish-Israeli identity work. In the recent years, Liana has served as the head of the New York delegation for the Jewish Agency for Israel and UJA Federation of New York, leading a network of Israeli emissaries across New York and strengthening the relationship between Israel and Jewish community in the diaspora through open and empowering dialogue. So, Liana, it's
Hi.
so great to have you here with us today. And let's start from the elephant in the room.
Which one? There's so many.
What is Arab Jew or Jewish Arab? What is it?
Wow. So this is a really big elephant, right? Arab Jew, I don't know if to say if it's new identity or reclaiming for identity. Many say Mizrahi. Before, many wanted to say Mizrahi, but they said Sephardi, but they meant Mizrahi, Jews that came from Middle East. So the definition for Sephardi Jews, it's a bit wider than that. And Arab Jew, it's Jews that live under Arab empires. And the beginning of Zionism idea, or because of different pogroms and because of stress to live under Arab or Muslim countries, they moved or to Israel or to many other places in the world. Me, myself, my grandparents. So I'm half an Arab Jew and half Ashkenazi Jew, and we will talk about it because a lot of Mizrahi Jews, it's hard for them to say they're Arabs, as there's a lot of political impact on the word Arab in Israel and abroad. But for Ashkenazi Jews, it's not that. It's easier to say I'm Ashkenazi, although I think it's also can be a very political thing. It's like Jews from Europe, right? So what is the difference? This group came from Arab lands or Arab countries, and this group of Jews came from European countries. So it's I was saying for me it's not tensional, although for a lot of people it's to say Arab Jew, it's a very tensional.
We will tap into this later. Okay. But basically, so what you're saying is an Arab Jew is a Jew that came from Arab countries.
Exactly.
This is their diaspora is like an Arab country. In compared to, it can be like an American Jew that came from America.
Yeah, some came from Germany and some came from Iraq. And the Arab Jew are Jews that came from Iraq, for example, or like me. So half of me is Syrian.
Yeah, so I'd like you to tell your story, like right from the beginning, where it starts.
So let's go deep. My grandfather, Yitzhak Levi, he born and raised in Aleppo. Aleppo, it's the English word for Haleb. It's an area in Syria, a very beautiful place that destroyed, I think, completely, actually. But it's a very beautiful place because of the war in Syria. And because
now?
Yeah. Not now, but in the recent years. And he actually fell in love in the idea of Zionism. He followed his brother, Ben Zion. And when he was 10 years old, a truck stopped in the middle of a market in Haleb in Aleppo. And a man got out of the truck in a group of boys, and he asked them, do you want to come to Israel or to the Jewish land? And my grandfather was like, of course. So imagine a 10 years old just jumping on a truck and starting a journey to Israel.
So let me understand. Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
In the market.
Yeah.
A truck stopped, how the person on the truck knew that it's Jewish boys?
Because they were outside or in the area of the Jewish quarter. It's important to say that my family, my grandfather's parents and great-parents, actually lived really well until France came to Syria with the Muslims.
Again, can you explain
Yeah,
exactly?
when France conquered Syria, it changed the whole relationship between Jews and Muslims.
We're talking about what year?
Let's say in the early 40s, around like this time. Like they came before, but my grandfather, when he was 10 years old. So this is the story of him. So anyway, they changed the environment completely between them, and it became very tensional. My grandfather, when he was younger, way younger, he started in the cheder, like in the Jewish Orthodox kindergarten or school. When France came to Syria and conquered Syria, they opened a Jewish school, Alliance. And in Alliance, they taught them French, and English. And he knows also Arabic. So my grandfather knew a lot of languages. That was like his thing. And he was also red hair. So part of this movement of Alliance movement and European movement in the Middle East, it's another conversation, they also brought Zionism as part of the correctness of going to Israel. And my grandfather was really into it. So he jumped to the truck. The thing is, and this is another nice story, that he didn't know he needed to swim. In a certain point, they needed to move from one place to the other one, but he didn't know to swim.
So they did it by like foot?
Yeah.
This trek to Israel, from Syria to Israel?
Yeah, they had some points that they stopped and they needed to cross some different areas and borders. And his story is that he's standing in front of the sea and everybody is like, come on, kid, we need to swim. Like, it's not that far, but you need to swim. And he was like, I don't know how to swim. And then a young man took him on his shoulder and they swam together and crossed to Israel. And when my grandfather asked, what is your name? Because he wanted to say thank you, his answer was, I'm the Jewish agency. He even didn't say his personal name.
Oh, this is so basically, so you're saying it was some kind of trek of the Jewish agency led. Where were his parents?
They came to Israel later, a few years later.
So he came alone, only him by himself,
Yeah,
his brother?
After his brother. His brother was already on the way to Israel or in Israel.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So we don't even know this part of the story, we don't even know where his brother is at. So he goes to, did he tell his parents that he's going?
No.
Like that?
Just like that.
Wow, this is, I don't know what I would do if I were his mother.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
So he's going to Israel with the Jewish agency.
Yeah, and then he came to Kibbutz Azorea, that he fell in love in the kibbutz idea. And he was like a kid. Many kids came from many places in the world, and they joined like kids groups that live without parents in kibbutzim. So my grandfather was one of them, and he was in Kibbutz Azorea. He loved it, although he was in shock that they served in Passover bread. He was like, "What? How that's possible?" And
Because in his house it was
no way. No, his house very
so how
religious.
come?
It's another episode of what happened to the kibbutzim from a very Jewish culture to a very secular culture or anti-religion as well, because to serve bread on Passover, it's a statement, right? But anyway, he lived in the kibbutz as a teenager, and then he went to the Ma'abara. Ma'abara, it's a Jewish refugee camp that people, not only from Arab countries, also people that came from Europe, were living in the Ma'abarot, in those camps, because no housing, right? You need to build buildings in Israel to make that happen, that people will come. And in the Ma'abara, he was a kind of an educator. Also, I said he was a red-headed guy, and he knew so many languages. So the people that sent him there thought that he looks like Ashkenazi, and that he can teach the Iraqis that came the early 50s, teach them some, education, or will help them to fit culturally to Israel.
So they mistakenly thought he came from from Europe, while he was originally from Syria.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they didn't know. I just think that there is a term, it's called like the melting pot. But
can you explain the melting pot for someone who doesn't know?
So melting pot is to take a lot of people that comes from so many places and to create a new culture that melting all those cultures into one culture. There is a big debate in Israel also today that actually it wasn't a melting pot.
So basically, I just want to, because many of our listeners may be not familiar with this term. So the melting pot was kind of the government for Israel in the early years of Israel. They wanted to create this one culture, meaning that to take all the different cultures from all the different states or places that Jews came from to Israel and make it into one culture, one
culture, but
homogenic kind of.
Yeah, but it's the thing is that it's erased all the cultures that are not European culture. So
you're saying it's not really
a melting pot. Yeah, it wasn't a melting pot.
It's making everyone more so European.
Yeah,
culture.
The food, there's like one type of food. You speak only Hebrew. Although people that spoke Yiddish couldn't speak Yiddish anymore, and also Ladino. So it wasn't just Arabic. And I will touch it in a moment. I want to tell about my grandma as well, but yeah, it wasn't really a melting pot. And this is a hard discussion even until today in Israel. And I think also here in America, what is the way that you pray and the way that you sing. It's mostly not Sfaradi or Mizrahi, right? It's mostly European melodies in the synagogues today. But yeah, so I will touch it in a moment about what happened to them as people that needed to cut a lot of their culture to be Israelis. So my grandma came to the same Ma'abara in Karkur when my grandfather was kind of an educator over there, and they met each other. My grandma came from Baghdad. From Dalal's family. It's a very big family in Baghdad. Her great-great-great-ma was she wasn't a rabbi because women was not allowed to be rabbis, but she was one out of 10 siblings, all of them boys, and she was the only girl. And her father decided to teach her Torah and like Jewish mystica and halakha and she knew a lot, and she was considered in Baghdad as the witch. People said that she walked with 2 snakes, white snakes on her neck, on the streets of Baghdad, and yeah. So there's a lot, and her name was Aziza. It's very important also to know. So this great mother, she was very strong, and she was a strong impact on my grandma. And when my grands met each other and fell in love in the Ma'abara, it wasn't allowed for them to get married, basically, because I don't know if I think that most of the people that will listen to this podcast don't know that Chalabis or Jews from Syria supposed to get married only with Jews from Syria.
Traditionally,
yeah. And especially when you're coming from a very wealthy family and strong family, and my grandfather came from a very strong family. And
again, traditionally in their family, it wasn't not allowed in Israel. It was just
Also,
not allowed.
also here, many Syrians until today married mainly with Syrians. And also in Israel, it's not like that actually anymore. But still, Syrians consider themselves like the elite of the Arab Jews. But my grandparents decided to break this tradition, and they got married. And my mother was born in the Ma'abara, and they named her Aziza. And
Your mother,
my mother,
like your grandmother's mother, like same name.
the great mother, yeah.
Okay.
So they named her Aziza. They moved from the Ma'abara, unfortunately not to a kibbutz. My grandma didn't want to live in a kibbutz. But the thing is that my mom, and this is, I'm going back to the melting pot. My grandparents never taught none of their kids Arabic, although they spoke Arabic between themselves. Of course, not us.
Why? Is it what deliberately they didn't want to
I never asked.
teach them?
I never asked.
Or it was just like very convenient to them to be able to speak with the kids?
Yeah, maybe. I think it was more than shame.
Okay.
We need to remember that Arabic is the enemy language. Also back then. And I think they didn't want them to, they don't want to, that people will see them as Arabs or as Muslims or look like Muslims or look like Arab, although the food is Middle Eastern, the language is Arabic, the music is Middle Eastern, everything is Middle Eastern. And also my dad, the first time he came to their house, he remembered, and that's a very hard story. He told me when he was like literally tearing because he was ashamed, not because of... Anyway, he told me that he entered their house and he heard Arabic music. And my grandma, she was always watching and listening to Egyptian channels in the radio or on TV. But the first time, and my father is Ashkenazi Jew, she saw him, she ran to the radio and turned it off. And my father was, why she did it? And he said she was embarrassed because maybe I will not marry with her daughter if I will hear that her mother is Arab. And this is like, he said, I loved always her food and the stories, and I never thought, and I actually love also Arabic, but she was ashamed.
Okay, so I want to jump ahead like a few years later, or maybe like a lot later, because we're getting like towards the end of the conversation between us.
Oh my God, so
but
fast.
But I want to really ask you about, so this whole thing, this whole story about the fact that your mom has been an Arab Jew, as you said, and your father was Ashkenazi. How did this affect you, your mom, and how did this affect you, and how did this build you?
Yeah, so it's a great question because my mom, her job for herself was to hide everything that connected to be an Arab Jew until a certain point. She changed her name, first of all. She never used the name Aziza. She changed it immediately. Legally, she changed it at the age of 18, but since age 8 or something like that, she told everyone she's Aviva like spring in Hebrew.
Like in Hebrew.
Yeah,
she changed it from
Arabic name to Hebrew name. And I think a lot of Ashkenazi Jews can, and also Ethiopian Jews, it's like a very, it's thing that happened when you move from one place to the other one. But my mom born in Israel, but she was born as Aziza, and she didn't want to feel that she's an Arab. She also lied everywhere when she was a tiny girl that she's British. And another layer to this this shame that when she was in the army, my grandma came with a pot full of kube, that it's one of the most yummiest dishes in the world. And my mom took the pot, threw it to the trash, and said, "Don't you ever bring your food here." Means I don't want any connection to this culture because that's it. It's done. I'm Aviva.
It gives me the chills.
Yeah, it's a very crazy story.
So how did this build you?
So in certain point, it's first of all built my mother. But actually before she died, it happened. Like she told me, Habibti, like my honey, my love, let's be honest, you're an Arab Jew. There is a culture that you need to pass on. I didn't do it, and you need to do it. And I just started to learn about it, and I asked her, and I asked my grandma, but also my grandma had Alzheimer, and she began to speak only Arabic, and that was hard for me because she forgot Hebrew. She went to her mother tongue. So I started to collect all the stories and all the experiences, and also to talk with my aunt. And it's to understand, and this is something as Zionist, it's to understand that the same movement that saved them, like my grandma ran from Iraq, basically, her family. It's not like my grandfather, but my grandmother, they came with Iraqi Aliyah. They felt unsafe anymore in Iraq. So the same movement that actually helped them, and they so loved it, and they loved Israel until their last day, actually also threw them to a kind of a shame walk, or kind of a process that they need to hide themselves. And I think what we're doing now is trying, and many Mizrahi Jews and Arab Jews trying to do it, is to go back and feel proud. And actually maybe use it to say, hey, we are from here. Our grandparents never moved from the area of Palestine or Arab countries or Middle East. And we want to navigate between the political situation. Now, we can do it. We know what is to be Arabs, and we know what is to be Jews, and we know what is to be Zionist as well. So I think it's helped me. It gave me a lot of tools to navigate between complexity and love. Mizrahi Jews are
very warm.
Very, very warm. But I think it's helping. It's helping. And today, the political situation, it's also, it's crazy, right? Jews are not indigenous, and there's a lot of...
This is what people are saying
about Jews. And there's a lot of statements about Jews that don't have an traditional Arab food, but actually, if you go today to Morocco and you go to eat the food, it's not that yummy. And then you understand that the yummy Moroccan food is Jewish. So it's crazy, right? Like what Jews brought to the Middle East, and of course the prayers and the music and everything. So yeah, it's basically it gave me a tool to navigate between complexities, and I think it's important.
So I want to ask one last question before we wrap up.
Yeah. Wrapping up, yeah.
I want to ask you, so I said before, you were here, the head of the New York delegation from the Jewish Agency, closing the circle. How did the fact that you're an Arab Jew, how did it affect how did you brought it into your role here? If you can tell us.
I think that what I didn't do it by myself, with the Shlichim, of course, but the aim was to bring a nuanced Israel. To say Israel is not a flat thing. It's a lot of things. It's also not only Jewish, right? But let's say today or yesterday, we celebrated the Sigd. So it's like Sigd is the Jewish Ethiopian holiday that became an Israeli holiday officially. And we brought diversity, and we brought nuance, Israel, and we brought people and stories that maybe without the Shlichim or without us with this understanding, people here never heard. And it's a very Jewish and Israeli stories. So that was very, very important for us to do.
You gave the communities in New York another flavor, to taste another flavor of Judaism and of Israel.
Totally. Mufleta
in the Mimuna, for those who know. So I want to really thank you for that. I think you had a very you really made your mark here. I can say it personally because I know.
Thank you.
And before we wrap up, I have 4 really, really short questions. Please answer the first thing that comes into your mind.
Stressful.
It is. You should be stressed.
I'm very.
Okay, so first question. Summer in Tel Aviv or winter in New York?
Summer in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is the best city in the world.
For the listeners to know, summer in Tel Aviv is like super, super hot. Winter in New York, for me, it's super, super cold. So you're saying?
Summer in Tel Aviv, no doubt about it.
Okay, so second question.
Yes.
Jerusalem or Tel Aviv?
Tel Aviv.
Okay, Tel Aviv girl. Okay.
Tel Aviv. Never lived in Tel Aviv day in my life.
One thing that you missed in Israel while living here?
Food.
What type of food?
Kube.
Kube. The same kube.
The same kube pot. Yeah.
And one thing that now, when you moved back to Israel, one thing that you missed the most here?
Jewish community.
Oh, I totally relate to that.
Judaism here.
Judaism
amazing.
Here. Yeah. Exactly. So thank you so much, Liana. And if you like to learn more about the Randy Wolbaum-Malinsky Center for Israel at the C. Jacobson JCC, or to discover opportunities to collaborate with us, please feel free to contact us by email rcfidirector@sjjcc.org. And thank you, Liana, for being with me today. And thank you for tuning into this episode of The Israeli Bond on hmTV. I appreciate my guest, Liana, for sharing some insights about what is an Arab Jew and how this really unique culture affects Israel and all of us until today. And if you enjoyed exploring the information, history, and stories in today's conversation, be sure to check out our other podcasts here on hmTV. Please subscribe, share, and stay connected for more engaging conversations. Until next time, take care and be well.